Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today back working on the 48-inch JA Fay bandsaw that we're restoring for Jimmy Diresta. And today's job is I want to start tackling these wheels, these bandsaw wheels. So we've looked at these before. These basically have a steel or maybe cast center in them. They have steel spokes that come out that goes to an outside wooden rim. Need to basically get all the metal parts of these cleaned up and primed and ready for some paint. Also want to take a really good look at these the wooden rims on them to make sure everything is good with those. They appear at first glance to be in pretty good shape, but I haven't really had a chance to inspect them really good. So I think the very first thing I want to do is get these over here, and I want to try to get the shafts out of these, separate those. It's just going to make them easier to handle and work with, and we're probably going to replace those shafts anyway. Haven't decided. I will look at that a little bit closer once we kind of get them out. If they're in good shape, we may reuse them. If they got a lot of wear in them, we may replace them. Again, we'll make that call once we get them out and have a chance to really get a good look at them. So I'm going to get these picked up over here on the sawhorses, and I don't really have a hydraulic press or anything big enough to press these things out. So yeah, we're just going to have to see what we can do. Hopefully they won't be too stubborn coming out. They probably will, but hopefully they won't. Let's get one over here ready to go. I'm going to take a strap, put down in here, and see if we can pick up on this. That should allow us to kind of pick straight up on it. I get a lot of questions about this gantry crane, and I'll just say that this is one of the most useful tools in my shop. I don't know how I got by without a gantry dealing with these heavy stuff that I deal with a lot of times. Really has been a game changer for me. We're going to come in here and we'll pick this wheel up and take it over and get it on the sawhorses. Get that off, but that'll come up without catching down below there. There we go. All right. All right. Now what I want to do is kind of flip this over. I need it where this wheel is down so we can drive it out. So we'll just come over here and grab it by the outside rim and pick it up here. All right, going up here. It's about to start, we're just going to want to flop over. All right, here we go. Now I'm going to pull it in this way, and we'll come down with it and let it sit down. All right. Let's get in here and see what we need to do to get this shaft out of there. So it looks like we've got a nut and a washer on this end kind of holding that thing in. I'm guessing that this has got a shoulder, this shaft's got a shoulder on it. It's kind of my assumption here. That's a smaller diameter on that thread. I think what I'll do is just take my angle grinder and just kind of clean this up a little bit, and then we'll see about taking that apart. All right, that actually cleaned up a lot better than I was anticipating. I am going to put some of this knocker loose penetrating oil in here. It's one of my favorite penetrating oils by CRC. You can order it online. Been real happy with it. We'll let that soak for a little while. See if we can get that off. Well, my biggest regular wrench I've got is 2 inches. I think that's, yeah, 2 inches, and that's bigger than that. That looks like about, whoops, 2 1/4. Yeah, it looks like 2 1/4. Yeah, that's what it is. It's kind of mushroomed up toward the top of that. There's some burrs on there, but that's 2 1/4 is what that is. But we got the big adjustable wrench. Let's see if we can get this off. And no such luck. Let's try it again. Yeah, of course it would never be easy. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and get the torch out, heat that thing up, and see if we can get it to come off without having to bang on it too much. Got my torch out here with a rosebud tip on it. And what I want to do is just heat that nut up. As it heats up, it will expand. I want to focus my heat on the outside of this. Try to keep the inside from getting too much heat so it doesn't expand in size. But hopefully by doing this, it'll expand just enough that that thing will loosen up and come right on off. Also, the heat kind of helps that penetrating oil seep down in there. And if there's any rust in those threads, it kind of helps break all that stuff loose. Anytime you got something stuck like this, a little bit of heat is good. It moved. It did move. But not very far. We've got everything clamped down here to the sawhorses. I put a piece of metal on top, and I got these big heavy duty clamps clamping everything down. That should help hopefully keep this thing from spinning as bad. And I've got a long pipe here on my wrench to hopefully give me some leverage. And yeah, I'm just turning everything. See if I can. Wow, that thing is on there. All right. You know what? All right, guys, I think I'm a ding-dong. I think these are left-hand threads. I'm sitting there looking at the threads on there, and look at that. Left-hand threads got me again. It ain't the first time, probably won't be the last. All right, that, got it. What a workout. And, I don't understand what's going on here, but we stripped most of the threads off getting it out of there. So we're going to be making a new shaft now for sure. That is unbelievable. Well, guys, we got it off, and I'm glad we do. I need to get this apart regardless. This is going to be really difficult for me to work on without getting this hub out. Plus, I need to see how all this stuff is made in case I decide to go make a new hubs and new wheels for the other bandsaw that we've got that's missing those parts. But in the process of doing this, we basically stripped all the threads off of the shaft. Interestingly, the threads are mostly intact down inside the nut. This is all hot, I'm not gonna pick it up. But you can see we really deformed an area over here on the side. I'm not sure exactly why this happened. The only thing I can think of is that when I was tightening it up, I may have just gotten the threads messed up, and then when we backed them off, it was just the damage was already done by starting out going in the wrong direction. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but regardless, no big deal. I was leaning towards making a new shaft for this thing anyway. Now there's no question that we're going to have to make a new shaft for it, and that will probably make it a little bit easier on me because when I go to drive this shaft out, I'm not going to be worrying about mushrooming this into the thing and screwing that up. We can get in here and get some sure enough pressure on it to hopefully get this thing apart. So anyway, one question I know some people's going to ask is why left-hand threads on this, and the reason is because of the rotation of the wheel. You want the rotation of the wheel to be tightening the nut and not loosening the nut. If the rotation of the wheel would loosen the nut, there's always the potential that the nut may come off while you're using it one day and the wheel come flying off the machine, which would make for a really bad day in the shop. So that's pretty common. When you had a rotational direction, you would tighten your nut on there in the opposite direction so that the rotational forces would be tightening the nut instead of loosening it. So next, what I want to do is get ready to kind of push this shaft out. I'm probably just going to use a hammer and see if I can knock it out. Ideally, you would use a hydraulic press for this. While we've got a big hydraulic press out at the museum, it will only take 36 inches between the columns, and this wheel is 48 inches. So not going to fit it on there. I don't have one big enough, so we're just going to improvise. Now, when I'm doing my pressing or hammering or whatever, I don't want it sitting on the rim of the wheel. That's just going to put too much damage on the wood, the spokes, and everything else. I want to support the hub from right there in the center. So I got my sawhorses kind of pulled together. I got some blocks of steel, and what I'm going to do is just lift this wheel up with the gantry crane, and we'll put these supports up underneath the hub right up next to the shaft on the inside to give us all of our support right in there close by that shaft where it needs to be for I think it's just going to be better all the way around. So, and with that, kind of get that centered up between them sawhorses, and we'll drop her down on there. I think that'll work. I'll also note right here that we got this big pulley up underneath the bottom, and I don't want that slamming into the concrete when it falls. So I just got some 4x4s blocking up underneath there to hopefully catch it and give it something a little bit softer to land on than the concrete, because we don't want to risk breaking that pulley. I'm not sure that we're going to use that pulley, but still, that pulley will get used somewhere along the line, so I don't want to risk messing that up. So we're going to press this out, and I can already tell by looking at this, there's some little bit of mushrooming around the outside top of this. There's also some marks right here. Looks like maybe a pipe wrench had gone on it at some point in time. All that was done before I started. But I'm going to take a file and we're just going to kind of go all the way around this thing, particularly right in there. The idea here is I don't want anything on the top of this wider than that hole that's going to make it more difficult to press out. That shaft is being replaced, so I'm not worried about messing it up. We're not going to mess it up. Anything we can do here to make this job easier, the better. I'll tell you what, let me see if I can find a file that doesn't have any teeth on the edge so that I don't scuff that up. Shouldn't hurt anything bad, but no reason to do anything we don't need to. Be right back. So if you look, I was kind of hitting the top of this because most files are going to have teeth on the sides. This is considered a safe file. There's no teeth on the side. Now, usually you want to have those teeth on the side because they come in handy. But with this file, I can come in here and I can go around that and I'm not cutting on the bottom. So it's just a little bit of a safer file. You can find one of these. It's nice to have a couple of them in your collection of files for just this purpose right here. And I think we got that cleaned up. Put a little penetrating oil on here. I'm going to let that sit for a little while and hopefully get some to creep down in there. And we'll come in here and try to knock that out in a little bit. We'll be back. All right, I just got back from lunch. So I've let that oil kind of creep in there for a little while. Probably been a good hour now, at least. And I decided I'm not even going to waste time trying to beat this thing out. I'm just going to go ahead and put some heat on this hub. Hopefully swell it up a little bit, expand it out, make it easier to pull that thing out. Again, I want to focus my heat on this center part. I want to keep it off of the center because I really don't want that expanded. And with any luck, this won't be too bad. Based on experiences so far, I'm not expecting to have a whole lot of luck. All right, I'm going to put some heat in here. We'll be back in a little bit. We got some heat in there. Not hitting it really hard right now. I just want to see if it looks like it's going to move at all. And I wouldn't be so fortunate. I'm using a piece of brass in here. I'm really not too worried about preserving that outside. It's not going to matter. All right. Let's go for it here and see what happens. Nothing. Nothing, nothing, nothing. All right, let me think on this. So sometimes you just have to get creative. I got to thinking about this and I really want to press this off. I don't have a hydraulic press big enough to put this thing on. So what I did was I built a little small hydraulic press that I actually just mounted to the wheel, and we're going to try this thing out. So literally just threw this thing together out of some scrap metal laying around the shop. I don't think I had to buy a single piece of metal for this. Everything was here. The top piece has got a plate, a couple of bars across the top. We got some bars going down beneath. I got some tubing down on the bottom to support the underneath this thing, and basically what we're going to do is we're just going to push down on the hub. It's basically catching on the bottom of this and pulling it up, so it works just like a hydraulic press, like it was sitting on the ground, but in this case we just bolted it around the spokes so that it would fit. Now the gantry crane here I've got hooked up, just holding it up. This thing is heavy and getting all these arms on here, so we just suspended it from the gantry crane to put it together. And I've put this thing on here. I haven't done any real pressing on it yet, just got it tight. We're going to see if this will break it loose. I got a 30-ton jack here. I always get nervous pressing. Always afraid something's going to break. But we're going to give it a try and see if this will come on loose. If it doesn't break real quick here or come loose, we'll put some heat on it, see if that'll help. And it doesn't look like it's going to come. So let me get the torch out and heat up that hub a little bit, see if that'll help. This is starting to concern me. This thing should have popped by now. I don't know, guys. I'm gonna have to think on this for a little bit. This is being stubborn. I'll be back. All right, guys, I'm not admitting defeat here, but we are gonna take a pause on this project and let me do a little bit of thinking on this thing before I mess something up that we can't fix. So bottom line, I'm not sure exactly what's going on. So I am going to just real quickly talk through a couple of things, because I know people are going to say, you know, is there a set screw holding this thing in? No, there's not one anywhere on here that I can find. You know, I'm thinking that this thing would have been keyed to the shaft, but there's obviously no keyway cut in it. You know, is there a pin going through it, like a tapered pin? If there is, I can't find it, and it was machined down perfectly flush, and there's just no telltale sign of it. The only thing that really kind of has me perplexed is this little hole right here. And there's a hole that goes down probably about an inch, maybe a little over an inch deep into the hub. It's not threaded. I've stuck something down in there. It's not like a set screw or anything like that in there. You know, this probably has something to do with what's going on here, but I can't figure out how this hole that goes straight down parallel to the shaft is doing anything to key this hub to the shaft. So I don't know. I just don't know, but we're going to get it figured out. You know, there's more than one way to skin a cat, so we'll get it figured out one way or the other. I'm just not quite sure what's going on. This collar set down on top of this right here. You can see it coming up. The other wheel has this same hole in it like this. Like I said, I've stuck a pin down in there. Can't feel any threads. There's not a set screw or anything like that down in there. It's just a hole. So I don't know. So we will revisit this at a later date. So one other thing that I will just briefly mention is that Brock, my student that helps me after school he came in and he got this thing wire wheeled. So he cleaned up all the rust on these parts. And I'm really surprised at how well it cleaned up just with the wire wheel. There's hardly any pitting on these steel parts at all. So I think this hub is cast iron. There's some inclusions in here, which kind of leads me to believe that that was probably cast. These are iron spokes that go up to these cast pieces here. Yeah, I don't know. This thing has really got me perplexed, but we'll get it figured out. It's got to come apart. There's no doubt about that. There's got to be something that's keying this hub to the shaft, and I got to figure that out so that we can get it out. Worst case scenario, well, I'm not even going to go there, but if we have, we're going to get this out one way or the other. Trust me, and we'll worry about that. This shaft that's in here, we obviously messed up the other side, but upon cleaning this thing up and looking at it, it doesn't look too bad probably in the video, but there's actually down here in the bottom some pretty excessive wear on that shaft, and it needs to be replaced. We're going to do all new babbits on this thing, and I really don't want to put a screwed up shaft back in there, so it's got to come out. And it will come out one way or another. It's going to come out. Hopefully it won't be the hard way. It's already been hard, but there you go. Guys, that's going to be a wrap. I'm running out of time for this episode. Need to go ahead and get this video edited and put out. We'll come back and revisit this later on, hopefully get it figured out. But with that's going to be a wrap on this episode. So as always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thumbs up, comments are appreciated as always. And yeah, I'll be looking at the comments to see if any of you guys got any ideas. There's nothing obvious that I can think of, but who knows? Those guys back in the day were pretty smart. They probably came up with a way to key that shaft that I'm just not thinking of. But we'll get it. All right, that's it. As always, thanks. Talk to you later.